Hey guys, Text206 here, and welcome to another video. Sorry I didn't upload last week. I was hard at work on making the Legend of TyranitarTube just in case K-Line was going to revisit Alpha Extreme. Anyway, now let's get on with today's video. So again, I'm talking about TyranitarTube because the Sword Extreme has just begun and people are already voting for their starters. We got Riolu, Melton, and Cosmo, and they're all going to be a steel type trio. Yep, you heard me right. Since it's Sword, Cosmo will evolve into Solgaleo. My bad, I thought it was going to be Lunala. I keep saying Lunala, but no, it's actually Solgaleo, because if I had Freddy in my game, I would get Lunala in Shield. So, I just wanted to do it just because, I don't know, people are just shaming on Melton because he doesn't evolve, but meanwhile, this is Extreme. It might literally evolve anytime it wants. They wouldn't just give us Melton and not have it evolve. It just really doesn't make sense. Well, the other two evolve with the Melton doesn't? Nah, I don't see that happening. So today, I'm going to go over what would be the best possible starter for Pokemon Sword Extreme. Now, don't go change your opinion. If you want to, you can, but I'm just going to go over the facts and how their base stats are, what they probably will be changed to, because, like, let's be real here, majority of the Pokemon stats are pretty damn bad. They're all below 300 base stat total, so they're probably going to buff them up to be at least as good as a starter in Sword and Shield. So, without further ado, let's begin with what Pokemon would be the best for the Sword Extreme Randomizer, TyranitarTube's Extreme Randomizer. Now let's begin. So first off the bat, let's talk about the fanboy Pokemon himself, Riolu. Now, most people are going to go Riolu because, oh, Lucario is really good. And I would agree with them. Lucario is pretty damn good, but the only thing it doesn't have going for it is its defense, which is a bit problematic because if we do choose Riolu, How is going to have, I guess you call him How again. Hop is going to choose Cosmo. And I'm thinking that the Pokemon stats are going to be rearranged. Cosmo might actually do damage, which is weird, but Cosmo might actually do damage. The only reason why I don't want Riolu is because he's like overused. Like, everyone likes Riolu, so it's obvious Riolu is going to get picked, and then the other Pokemon are literally going to be outcasted because of that. So it's kind of an unfair advantage to them, but who cares? So now let's actually talk about the pros and cons of Riolu. So let's start off with the pros. Let's start off with the cons, get the bad news out of the way, and then we can go straight into the good news. So, the cons is Riolu's stats. Now again, I think they're going to change the starter's stats to make it more starter-like, so that they're not weaklings and won't die out into a battle if they find a legendary in the wild or anything. So, right now, he has 40, his base HP is 40, base attack is 70, base defense is 40, special attack is 35, special defense 40, and speed 60. Now, the speed and attack are really good, but besides that, the rest of their stats are pretty bad, because what do you expect? It's a baby Pokemon. But if they would probably change it, I think they would probably give it more in its defense stats, and probably a little bit more in HP or attack. That's what I think they would probably change, and give it a little more of a boost. Probably giving it around a little bit over the 300 base stat total range. So, now let's actually look over Riolu's weaknesses and resistances. So Riolu's weaknesses are Flying, Psychic, and Fairy. Just 3 types for now. It's still going to be 3 types when it evolves, and it's completely different, mind you, which is nuts. But now let's get on to its immunity, none for now. And then resistances is Rock, Bug, and Dark types. Now let's go ahead and talk about Lucario. So Lucario's base stat total is 525. And then let's talk about its base stat totals. So, HP is 70, attack is 110, which is crazy. Defense is 70, which is really good, pretty decent. Special attack is 115, which is higher than its attack, which is pretty good overall. Special defense is 70, and speed is 90, which is crazy fast. And now, again, let's go into weaknesses. Its weaknesses are now Fighting, Ground, and Fire. Complete turnaround. But now it's immune to poison, but now it's also resisting more. Getting rid of the no immunity and turning it into a poison immunity, which is really good off the bat. Now, let's talk about the cons. So the cons about Riolu. The Pokemon is overall really good when it evolves. Right now, it's not so good, but its base stat total for this Pokemon is most likely going to be changed, because all the 3 Pokemon are babies. Melton's a baby, Riolu's a baby, and Cosmo is a baby. So they're going to probably change it to have a little bit over 300 base stat total, I believe. So, with Riolu, the cons about picking Riolu. If Hop does get the other starter that you would normally don't get, he'll get picked the weaker one. But in this case, the weaker one is replaced with the stronger one. So Riolu is Grookey in this case. So since you're picking Grookey, he's gonna pick Sobble, and Sobble in that slot is Cosmo. So if he picks when he gets Cosmo, and he has a Sucky Hop right off the bat, it puts you at a disadvantage. No matter what, you will be at a disadvantage with Hop, because he will have the better starter than you in this case. At least resistance-wise and super effective-wise, not so much, more like the resistance-wise. It's only if Cosmo actually gets a second move off the bat, which I don't think it will, but looking back in Sun Extreme, Scar did have electro-type attack pretty early on, so I think Cosmo might have it too. So, and then also, the third starter, which is the Story Buddy Slam being Melton, Leon would be getting Melton, and then Leon will probably have a Melmetal when you fight him in the final battle of Pokemon Sword Extreme. Now, the problem with this is, it might be able to G-Max. We don't know for sure, but the way T-Wang was hinting at it, it looked like he was hinting at one of the legendaries he wanted for us to pick for him. Because, what if Melton gets the the G-Max trait? Now, you're probably thinking, wait, G-Max trait? That thing doesn't even evolve. If it has G-Max trait, it won't get it. But I'll go more into that in Melton, which is up next. So now, let's go over the gym leaders for Riolu. So, Riolu is good against not really anything against the gyms-wise as of yet. Riolu can't really beat anything. It depends what moves it gets. But when it evolves, it guarantees has a good chance against the Fairy-type gym with its Steel typing. All the stars will have a field day on the Fairy gym, but we know Extreme. It's going to be a pain in the arse to do. Now, let's go on to the good things about Riolu and Lucario. They're fast, they're strong, they're going to pretty much wreck any Pokemon in its wake early game. But the problem is, that's early game. As soon as we get to probably past the second gym, things are going to start getting real. And then if we have Lucario by Fire Gym, then the Fire Gym is going to kick Lucario's arse. So we won't be able to lose Lucario in that. But also Lucario could withstand pretty well against the Dragon-type gym, because now Steel-type, it can now resist Dragon. When Hop finally gets Solgaleo, it will at least have neutral damage with its fighting-type moves, if it gets any, and literally any other move that it gets to beat it, to be honest, because it's Extreme. It can get any move. It can even Splash. Who knows? Now that we talked about the pros and cons of Riolu, let's go on and talk about actually one more pro. It will do decent against Melmetal, but the problem is Melmetal is going to take those super effective hits if they're physical really, really well. So unless you don't have any special moves, then it's pretty much a loss to Melmetal. So it's a win-lose. It's like a pro and a con. Anyway, so now let's move on to Melton. Now let's talk about the second starter of T-Tar's Sword Extreme Randomizer Nuzlocke, Melton. Now a lot of people are crapping on this man. A lot of them. And I don't understand why, because people are thinking of the common Pokemon knowledge that it's not going to evolve and its base stats are bad. But out of the three starters, its base stats are actually best. Out of all of them, it has the better base stat total of 300, which is better than Riolu's at 280 and Cosmog's at exactly 200. They will obviously give Melton the ability to evolve, because this is Extreme. They turn trade evolutions to evolve at a certain level. They made Darmanitan de-evolve. So why can't they make Melton evolve? They haven't made a trash starter in the Extreme series yet. I've yet to see a trash starter so far. We don't know what the other starters were going to be like, but at least in the Alpha Extreme, they did have really bad starters. There wasn't like a crappy one. They just took hard work to get to that point. Scar was pretty much that. It was just took a while to get to that point where he was really good, and probably that would be the same with the Popular file around it. So what I'm trying to say is, he is going to evolve. It's pretty much guaranteed that it's going to evolve, because I don't know why they just would give a Meltan and it's not going to evolve. It just really doesn't make sense. And Melmetal is its technical evolution, so I don't know why they wouldn't make it evolve in the game. So now let's actually go over Meltan's stats. So Meltan's base stat total is 300. HP is 46, attack is 65, defense is 65, special attack is 55, special defense 35, and speed 34, being its lowest stat. Now, special defense and speed are probably its worst stat of them all, but its defense and attack really keeps it being better than Riolu is, at least defense-wise. Riolu is better than everywhere in its attack, at least. It has going for that. So now let's go over its... Oh yeah, also, the stat changes, they would probably make it probably more bulky, let's be real here. They would give it more defenses. Okay, so now let's talk about his resistances and weaknesses. So it's weak to fighting ground fire, just like Lucario, and immune to poison like it. But it has 2 more resistances. It has normal flying, rock, bug, steel, grass, psychic, ice, dragon, and fairy, which is 2 extra types that it is resistant to, being psychic and fairy, because normally fighting is weak to fairy and psychic, so it would cut it off and make it neutral when it's Lucario. But now, let's talk about the big iron giant boy himself, Melton. Now, I said back when I was discussing about Riolu, the G-Max trait. If Melton has the G-Max trait right off the bat, we're looking at a G-Max Melton sweeping through gyms like crazy. And that would be insane and give T-Wang the upper hand very much. More than Lucario possibly can. No offense, Lucario. But, like, with his stats being more better overall than Lucario, like, he's gonna be taking those physical hits and he's gonna be dishing those physical hits very, very well. And on top of that, his HP being huge, it will be able to take at least 1 special attack from the G-Max move at least. But other special attacks will be like it's just someone flicking him, like, what are you doing? And then it was like someone's tickling him and they hit him on the defensive side. It's like, nothing, man. So, Melton G-Max form is a possibility, but I also think possibly the 2 other starters might get it as well, because if we think about the DLC for the Sword and Shield Isle of Armor, the starters are going to get G-Maxes. So if the game does continue and we get an update with the Isle of Armor for Sword Extreme, then will our starters be able to G-Max as well? I don't know for that for sure. But it does give it replayability and making us come back to Pokemon Sword Extreme after it's finished, which I think, you know, we're going to go to Isle of Armor probably anyway afterwards. I don't know, we'll have to see about that. So the G-Max trait is a what-if scenario. I don't know for sure if I'll have it or not, but if it does, man, Melton is going to wreck lives. And yes, it's going to evolve into Melton. I already stated this before. It's going to evolve into Melton because they wouldn't just have it not evolve. Like, this is Extreme we're talking about. They had it devolved in Sun Extreme and then evolved back into Darmanitan. And it normally has 2 stages. So you're telling me that Melton's not going to be able to evolve in this game is a dumb excuse, because it's totally gone. But the question is when. I think it's going to be at least before level 50. Now, let's actually go over Melton's stats. HP, base total is 600 off the bat. It's a bit better than Lucario's. Then we have, and then not as good as Solgalio's. Then we have HP at 135, which is massive. Attack and defense at 143, which is insane. It's broken in VGC for a reason and banned. Special attack is 80. Special defense is 65, which is meh. And then speed is terrible at 34 still. But it's just to bounce out the Pokemon. If it was fast, it would destroy lives. So yeah, Melton has really booming stats because, well, it's a legendary. It's obviously going to be better than Lucario, so that's not a legendary. But let's talk about the cons of Melton now. Now, the only cons that I see is obviously Riolu punching it in the face, but it's going to be taking those punches in the face. So, and again, it's Extreme. They can literally have any move in the game, and we don't even know. Okay, so now continuing with the cons. Facing against Solgaleo is a 50-50. Like, when you do the final battle, it's going to be a 50-50 with Solgaleo, because it all depends on moves and what they get and all that. Now, obviously, the gyms, Melton and Melton are obviously going to have a hard time with the Fire Gym and the Fighting Gym, but it's only those 2 gyms. It's the same as for Solgaleo, and it's the same as for Riolu, because they're all Steel types. They're all going to have the same amount of difficulty for each gym. Some will have a slightly better edge than others in some cases. That out of the way, let's talk about the pros. So the pros are Melton's stats are crazy. And also, okay, one more con, we don't know when it evolves, but I think it's at least going to be before level 50. Alright. Because normally it doesn't evolve in the game, so they would have to give it a custom level that it would evolve into, right? So, I think it would be at least before 50. If it's not before 50, then that's an oof. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to evolve. Okay, so the pros, again, its stats are really good. And against the Riolu, it's a 50-50, but when it's a Melton, it's obviously going to take up most of the hits from that Lucario dishes out towards it. Unless it's special, then it won't be too much of a good time, but it will at least take 1 special hit from Lucario, at least I think so. Now, let's talk about the gyms. Again, it's the same as Lucario. It's good against the Grass Dragon for resisting it, but it's super effective against the Fairy Gym and the Rock Gym. And I forgot the Red Rock Gym before, I'm sorry about that. And with that, that is the pros and cons and whatnot of Melton and Melton. So hopefully this is a good basic understanding of people who don't think Melton is going to be good. At least they now think it will be probably a little bit better now because they know it will evolve. and their base stats might get changed, but we don't know. It's extreme. Literally anything can happen, and who knows, if we're lucky enough, it will have the G-Max trait, and we could have a G-Max Melmetal. That would be insane. So now let's go on to the next Pokemon, the last one, Fetty the Cosmo. Alright, so Fetty the Cosmo. The only why people were asking for it is because you didn't finish Sun Extreme, it would be a homage to it and whatnot. But then that's also going to make Steamwine feel guilty. Every time he sees it, he's going to be reminded of the guilt. That one day where he forgot his Sun Extreme DS. And then when he went back to get it, it wasn't there. So picking this one will probably be a guilt trip to have, to say the least, more than a homage. At least that's what I think. So now let's move on to its stats. Oh boy, it's a doozy. 200 base stat total. With 483 HP, attack 29, defense 31, special attack 29, defense 31, speed 37. The only thing it has going for it is that speed. It's HP. It's not that good. But I think they would probably, like I said, with the other two starters, are going to change that base stat total to turn it to 300. They're obviously going to increase its special attack like crazy. It's probably going to go up to 40 somewhere. Like not plus 40, but it's going to go into the special attack being at 40 or something like that. And then special defense wise a bit more and defense wise a bit more. I think that's like where they would add more onto it. But now let's move on to the cons of Fetty. Now before we get into its evolution, I just want to talk about Fetty in general in the beginning. It's going to be a hassle. It's going to be a hassle to use it. Yes, it will make the game more interesting. It will make it way more of a challenge. But the problem is, Extreme is already hard. We don't need the extra challenge. If D-Way is up for the extra challenge, well, good luck to him. But again, with the stats most likely being increased throughout all these starters being over 300 base stat total, I think Fetty will be at least a little bit better than it is now. Because with psychic moves at its disposal, it could actually deal some sort of damage, maybe. But the cons is just, it's frail, it's gonna get kicked out of the pocket so many times, and it's gonna get one shot very, very easily, and T1 is gonna have to rely not on his starter, but his other Pokemon instead, which is not what he usually tends to do. And his instinct is going to be, oh, send the Fetty, he's my starter, he's going to take it. No, he's not. So now, let's go over Cosmoem now. So now, for Cosmoem, the base stat total is now turned into a 400, with save HP, save attack, and special attack, and speed, but now its defenses are crazy at 131. Now again, not as good as Melmetal's, but the defense stats are insane. And keeping the same stat changes as before with the special attack stat, I think Cosmog will be basically a decently sized tank. Because I think Cosmog, or the power of getting to 53, to actually deal the damage. That is like the one problem with Cosmog. And if they change it somehow to make it sooner than Evolve, then that would be good, but I don't know why they would. But they could do that to make it a little bit easier for people who do pick Fetty. Which is literally a 50-50 between Fetty and Ryola at this point. So now let's go ahead and talk about harder than the Sun Solgaleo. Sorry, I had to put a bar somewhere in here, I'm sorry. But his base stat total is 680, better than both Lucario and Melmetal, with HP being 137 in HP and attack, which is already better than Melmetal in HP wise. Defense 107, special attack 113, 89 special defense, and speed 97. Overall, a very well-rounded Pokemon. And now, with its weaknesses, it's pretty much the same thing, but now it is now weak to Ground, Ghost, Fire, and Dark. It has a one extra weakness than both Melmetal and Lucario, but now it has one more resistance than Lucario, one less than Melmetal. Normal, Flying Rock, Steel, Grass, Psychic, Ice, Dragon, and Fairy. Again, Steel typing is a very defensive typing, and this helps make Extreme a little bit less hard by Pokemon taking more of these hits. But again, Lucario won't be able to be taking the hits like Solgaleo and Melmetal, but it will be able to be faster in getting off some strong hits. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons of Solgaleo. Obviously, the con is being level 453 in order for it to be usable. And then at the same time, you're gonna go against a Melton with Hop, which psychic moves are gonna resist on it, but at least its special defense is weaker than its physical, so there is the plus side to that. Again, a 50-50. Then we go on to Leon having Lucario. That's where you can just sweep Lucario, because literally you just do the L's then headbutt. But again, it depends what moves it gets. It's completely random. We will never know what their moves are until we see what happens. Now, let's move on to the pros. The pros being that it is a psychic type. So now it will have a little better time dealing with the fighting type gym. Now it is not weak to fighting, it's just neutral. And its defense stats is already pretty good. So with it being able to have stab on psychic moves if it gets any, it's going to be doing some pretty good damage against the fighting gym. So that's the one side that Lucario and Melmetal do not have. It gets stab psychic super effectiveness on the fighting type gym. Now, again, it's also going to be good against the Fairy Gym, the Rock Gym. We know it's the same deal, and it's going to be tough to the... It's going to be, well, it's not going to be good against the grass team because it won't be Solgaleo by then. And it'll at least be a Solgaleo by the time you go to the Dragon Gym. So it'll be resisting those hits at least, too. And with that, that is it. That is my breakdown between all three starters. Now it's about time to decide which one is the better starter. Okay, it's time to make a verdict. Which starter would be the best one stat-wise and type advantage-wise during the Pokemon Sword Extreme Randomizer Nuzlocke for TyranitarTube Edition? And out of Riolu, Meltan, and the Fetty, out of the three of them, the best one would most likely be Solgaleo, if it wasn't level 53, so it's going to Melmetal. Okay, now I know a lot of Riolu fans are going to get mad, but, because, oh, we don't know when it's going to evolve, we don't know if it is even going to evolve either, but, overall, Melmetal will have an easier time than Lucario, and if Solgaleo was at such a high level, Solgaleo would have won by a long shot. Let's be real here. If they did change its levels, if we had confirmation that they did change its levels to evolve, then it would totally be the best starter. But at this point, it's not. It is actually going to be the worst in this case. Now, I would put it second, but, you know, Lucario evolves faster and can be more useful than Fetty can ever be until level 53. So, yeah, for this case, the best one is Melmetal, the second best is Riolu, and Fetty is sadly the worst. The only way it would be number one again if its levels of evolving were changed. And Lucario has a disadvantage, more of a disadvantage than the other two for the Fairy Gym because it's neutral. That's the only thing that's actually keeping it from beating Melmetal at this point, because it has better speed, and it can dish out really good attack-wise, but Melmetal can deal more easily with the gym. And Melmetal is not second place because, well, or last place because we don't know when it's going to evolve. The only way we'll know is if we use it, right? And if Leon gets a G-Max Melmetal, it's going to be a really scary time, and especially Hop too. If Hop gets it, it's most likely going to, he's most likely going to Dynamax the starter, which then is going to G-Max Melmetal, which is going to be scary if you chose Fetty. Really scary. And again, the types of moves are randomized, so it's all up to chance of what moves they learn. And with that, that is the end of this week's video. I hope you enjoyed. Leave your comments down below which starter you want T1 to use. I'll link in the description to the video, or in the iCards, to the video of his choose his starter. As of recording this, he's going to do it today. He is going to make that episode come out today. More like late night tonight, probably. Like early in the morning last time when he did the episode 0. So, yeah. If you disagree with my list, let me know. Who do you think is the best starter? Even though I know most of you are going to say it's going to be Lucario. But stat-wise, Melmetal just has everything going for it. And even though I know we won't be able to see the Gigantamax Melmetal because it's going to be overwhelmed with Lucario and Riolu submissions, I went through the facts and it looks like Melmetal is just the overall best right now for Sword and Shield. If it was, you know, if it was Shield on the other hand, maybe Lucario might have a better chance because it'd be Ice, and at the same time they would be Ghost. Actually, no, we probably have a worse time. Never mind. I take that back. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video. And without further ado, have a good time gaming, guys. Peace out. Have an awesome day. And see you all next week.